A good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everybody. It's a beautiful 3rd of September, 2024. Coming at the Crusty podcast, episode 306. That's right. Cell phone bans and self-defense. Issues after issue after issue. Oh, my goodness. What are people going to think when you can't play on your phone when you're being instructed in how to live your life? All that in self-defense issues. Tisk, tisk, tisk. So many people for it, so many people against it. All that more on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Please stick around. Listener view discretion is advised because I will swear and I will smoke the odd cigarette. And, well, I'll just basically do my own thing. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues, and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Crusty Canuck podcast, episode 306. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. If you like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe. Share this content on all of your social media platforms. Do not be shy and give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment when you see this on the tube or in Rumble or anywhere else you get your podcast, ladies and gentlemen. And this podcast is also brought to you in part by, and of course, supported by the great people at Veterans for Freedom Network. That's right, Veterans for Freedom. Stand to Veterans for Freedom, and coming soon, Veterans for Freedom TV. Stick tuned for that. We're still waiting updates and all that too, but it'll be coming soon. So as title card says, or the title says, cell phone ban and self-defense. So kids are back to school today. Okay, kids are back to school. Everyone's going back to their formats, all this wonderful stuff in regards to getting an education and being smart and brilliant and hopefully go to university and get yourselves into debt. But now they've banned cell phones Canada-wide, as far as I know, from BC to Nova Scotia to Newfoundland, Quebec. I'm not sure what's going on in the Yukon and Northwest Territories or none of it, but needless to say, they've took cell phones out of the mix, right? In a way, that's a good thing, ladies and gentlemen, because you don't want any disturbances. And you want to teach little Billy or little Beth how to read and write. You want them to be focused and ready to rock and roll when it comes to reading or writing an essay, not worry about who's the hot spot on TikTok. But hey, I'm digressing anyway. So, cell phone ban in effect. And now it's been on the news all day so far. CTV, CBC, City TV, you name the big wigs in Canada. I'm sure there's some controversy happening in the States right now as we speak too. But I, for one, as a former military instructor, we never allowed cell phones in our classrooms. You're allowed to have them, but they had to be turned off, or they were turned into a little box I would keep at my little desk or console when I was instructing a lesson. And the soldiers at B, the recruits at B, would get those back in a timely fashion when the class was over and they went about their business. Okay. I, for one, I look back at my school years. Okay. I look back at the time when I was a young, brash young lad. Yes, of course. Yes, sitting there in class, understanding my multiplications and my division and my long division, all that stuff. And we never had a cell phone. Now, I wonder what life would have been like then if we did have cell phones. Go figure. It'd be interesting to look back and daydream what would happen. And I probably would assume it'd be chaotic as hell. But anyway, that's just my best guess. So when people start talking about kids' rights and focus and everything like that too, we are all guilty, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to cell phone use. We are. You are. I am. My wife is. Even my parents, they don't have a cell phone as much, but they have a little Apple tablet they carry around with them all the time to take photographs, to do this, to do that, document things. So we are somewhat reliant on the old, piece of plastic here that gives us the insight, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I can understand teachers' point of view when they're trying to instruct little Billy or little Beth in regards to understanding what 3 times 9 is and what 3 times 12 is, all that good stuff, how to write a proper sentence, spelling, grammar, all that good stuff. So you need to be focused in doing that. Like I said, we had a rule when I was teaching in the military. Shut your cell phones off, put it in your pocket. If I see anyone pull the cell phone out during my lesson, you will be punished promptly and probably be charged for defying an order or disobeying a direct order. So there were complications and penalties in regards to what was happening with cell phones in the military. Now, like I said, we're all guilty. We're all guilty of spending too much time on our phones. I know I am. I do it because of my podcast and because of my job, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, but we shouldn't have to really hear or worry about any discontent when it comes to kids and their cell phones. Because if there's an emergency in the family or something's going on, I'm sure mom and dad or mom and mom or dad or whoever's the legal guardian of said wonderful kids will let the school know something bad is happening and Billy's got to come home or Beth's got to come home. You know what I mean? So in a way, it's kind of a good thing too. It's a way of cracking down, and then it's a way of telling kids that, okay, this is part of the world we don't want you to see right now because we need you to focus on this, right? And when they talk about going back to school and anxiety and all this stuff, we've all went through it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a new issue. Okay. I remember back in the 80s and the 90s going back to school and some of the anxiety of seeing people again and seeing friends again and seeing some shitheads again and seeing some bullies again and seeing some teachers you never really got along with because a lot of them were just idiots. Okay. But I'm digressing here. Anyhow, so when people talk about the cell phone ban in school, what is the major issue? Other than you're having students who are going to school who are basically being told how to read and write, how to function as adults, you would think. Now, there's other issues out there when it comes to public education and secondary and post-secondary education when it comes to the whole indoctrination thing. But if I'm sitting in class, I'm going to be focused on what the instructor or the teacher is saying, depending how much I want to be there and how much I want to learn. Okay. I was never an academic genius. I never claimed to be, nor did I ever aspire to be, ladies and gentlemen, because this wasn't my forte. But learning how to read and write and formulate a sentence and how to formulate a paragraph properly and how to spell it and how to use grammar properly, that comes in handy. And I would have to say, because of these things, sometimes we are also guilty of grammatical errors. And don't worry, there's lots of people on the left that will sit there and correct you and think they're superior to you because they know where to put a fucking hyphen or a comma. But needless to say, I'm not going to sit and bitch and moan about fucking hyphens and commas. I just laugh at some of the things when people get all mad about banning cell phones in classrooms, because 40 years ago, 30 years ago, we never even heard of it. Cell phones are getting practically brand new in the market by the early 90s. Okay. But that was far few in between. Not everyone can afford it, and not everybody can afford a car phone or those goddamn monstrosities they started having in the 80s that you put on your shoulder or put on your head, those big walkie-talkie looking sort of things. But we knew something was coming, but we never focused on that. We focused on the lessons at hand, right? And I think it's a good thing for parents to understand that too. Basically what the Ontario Minister of Education is saying, I'll put up a video here shortly, but she's basically saying the same things I did, to focus on this, focus on that, and if anybody defies it, there will be disciplinary measures. However, I'm not worried about discipline. I'm just worried about kids growing up and using common sense. And let's hope that will prevail.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yeah, a little faux pas there, gentlemen. Sorry, I clicked the end title when I should have clicked the middle title. Anyhow, here's a video here from the Minister of Education, Ontario, explaining basically why they're banning cell phone use in schools. I'm not saying banning the use, but basically making it harder for students to rely on it when they should be focused on their studies at hand. So like I said, you guys decide. I'll keep the captions up if people have a hard time understanding it or listening.
Focused on learning in classrooms, not on cell notifications. We're banning cell phones in classrooms. For students in kindergarten to grade 6, we are banning cell phones for the full instructional day. Students in grade 7 and up will be required to turn off their mobile devices or set them to silent mode and keep them out of view when they're in the classroom. Of course, students who need their mobile device for special education needs or for monitoring a medical condition will still be able to use them. To ensure parents and students know the rules, this week we started online and print advertisements across Ontario. We're also taking action to protect young people's health. That's why Ontario is explicitly banning vape devices from schools and school-related settings, along with nicotine and tobacco products. In grades kindergarten to grade 6, cell phones will not be used in the classroom at all. They'll be turned off and left out of view. Grade 7 to grade 12, cell phones can be used during break time, but during instruction time, specifically at the teacher's request, because they can still be used for instructional purposes if the teacher requires that. But if the teacher is asking cell phones to be put away or turned off, if students do not abide by those rules, they'll be asked to put the cell phone in a safe space in the classroom. And if students do not follow that, they'll be asked to go to the principal's office. There are discipline measures in place that can be taken, and we will support the principals in those measures.
Now, I don't know why she had to mention the whole, how do you say, the tobacco issue there, ladies and gentlemen. Not that it matters, it's, I talked about this in my last episode in regards to smoking cessation products and what have you. It actually helps people quit the habit. I've talked to a couple of individuals I worked with in the military and a couple of my coworkers, and they use some of the products they've so-called banned in regards to, not letting young people have a piece of the action. Basically, it helps, but I can see your point when it comes to cell phone use because, I did some teaching in the military, yada, yada, yada. Don't be distracted. I'm trying to show you something. I'm trying how to load this rifle. I'm trying to load this machine gun. I'm trying to teach you how to throw this grenade. And I can't do it with you sitting there worrying about your TikTok bimbos shaking their tushies, wanting affirmation. But that's just me. Okay. So as I said, when it comes to cell phone use, yeah, we're all creatures of habit. We're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of using it and putting things aside and ignoring people when it comes to doing it. My wife and I, we're both guilty of it. Right. There's days where I get home and I'm looking at my podcast stuff and get my information for my next episodes and researching what have you, just listening, reading, getting their points of view. And it's like, no, my wife's sitting there. I got to put the phone down. Just to actually have real hands-on conversation for a change. And kids need to do it too. Turn your cell phone off, keep it in your pocket, keep it secured, keep it in the teacher's desk until the end of class, what have you. Communicate, talk. Teacher, I can't understand this sentence, or I can't understand this mathematical equation. Can you give me a hand? You can't do that when you're sitting and ticking on your phone, okay? So I can see why the ban is effective, okay? It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you may disagree. Let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up or whatever. Just let me know. And if you like what you see, click like, subscribe, share this content on all your social media platforms, ladies and gentlemen. And if you feel like donating, don't hesitate to donate. There's links in my description. My ultimate goal is to try to get anywhere from $800 to $1,000 a month. And I need you wonderful people to make that happen for me. I'm not going to force it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to force that issue, but if you feel like donating, making it happen, there is some incentive I do have out there on my Buy Me a Coffee app. You donate $3 a month on a regular basis. At the end of the month, I'll get all the names who've donated, and I will draw, and you win a free hat and T-shirt in the Crusty Canuck store at my link there. So by all means, consider donating today. And when regressing, carrying with this episode, cell phone ban and self-defense. I'm not going to sit and dwell about cell phones all the time too. You've seen it from the horse's mouth, Ministry of Education Ontario. I'm sure all the other educational ministers and MLAs out there, Canada-wide, agree. The simple consensus, at my job, I need my cell phone for my work because I have to communicate with my boss, my assistant manager, and my supervisors alike in case something happens and they need me here, need me there. What better way to do it than give me a text to let me know that they're here or I'm there, rather than using the CB radios or whatever. It makes it that much easier too. Plus, while those long days where I'm hauling feed, I get to listen to other points of view and other podcasts too. So in a way, it's a nice tool to have as well, ladies and gentlemen. But that's just me in the adult world. Who knows what the kids are looking at today? But, I think parents are doing an okay job to give them the understanding as they should. Anyway, carrying on with this episode, 306, cell phone ban and self-defense. Now, there's a couple of videos that I should have queued up earlier from the Zoomer. They talked about self-defense in the home. Runkle the Bailey has a great channel on YouTube. He discusses self-defense from a criminal lawyer's perspective. He's also an advocate for gun rights in this country. And he's a gun owner. He's a hunter. He's a collector. And he's also a very, very switched on lawyer too. But I'm going to read an article here about self-defense laws in Canada. And I want you, my wonderful audience, to decide. As always, you guys decide which is right, which is wrong. You don't need affirmation when it comes to defending loved ones, but it's interesting how the laws in this country have affected common people when it comes to self-defense. Okay, a few months back, we heard a Toronto police officer encouraging people to leave their keys or key fob by the front door so you don't have to confront a burglar if he or she wants to steal your car. So basically, you're saying to these people, submit to the crime, submit to the tyranny to make it easier on your lives. When the reality is it's easier on certain admins when it comes to doing paperwork. I'm a firm believer in self-defense. I'm a firm believer in looking after your loved ones and standing up for what's right in this country. Now, I'm not saying go get a sidearm and blow somebody away if they step onto your property. However, I do believe defending yourself if someone breaks into your home and they have the intent on hurting you while they're stealing from you. And I believe force with force to the fullest. Okay. But that's just my point of view, though, too. But, I'll tell you more right after this.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
You're back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Crusty Canuck Podcast, episode 306. My God, 306 episodes, ladies and gentlemen. Goodness gracious, 306 episodes. Crusty, where do you find the time? I make the time, and you people are wonderful. Give yourselves a round of applause. All of you out there that watch my show, all of you that give me kind words and comments, even the people that do watch my live streams and watch my show at all the time, don't say anything. You guys are wonderful too. But I'd really appreciate if more people that are watching say a comment, say hi, hello, say whatever, get me a thumbs up. Let me know you're there. Help the algorithm out. Help us Canucks get our words out there in a timely manner so Bill C-63 will not see the effing light of day. Oh, one big breath. Anyhow, as I said, episode 306, cell phone ban and self-defense. So here's an article from an attorney by the name of Michael Oikman. So I will cue this up and I'll read some of it. And like I say, ladies and gentlemen, I want you guys to decide. Think for yourselves. I'm a very, very staunch believer in people thinking for themselves and using their better judgment to get things done, regardless of how you feel about this or feel about that. Standing by your own moral scruples or own moral code, right? So here's an article from Strategic Defense, Strategic Criminal Defense. They are a law firm. I don't know where, but I will leave this in my description, and you guys might even give them a call and get them some questions, or might even hire them in case something happens too. So, self-defense laws in Canada, explained by a lawyer, by Michael Oikman. This was updated on the 26th of June of this year, so it's only a couple of months old. Canadian citizens have a fundamental right to safeguard themselves and their property, and this right must be upheld as long as their defensive actions are reasonable and proportional to the circumstances. However, it is crucial to note that injuring an intruder or using lethal force is only justified when it is the only available option for self-defense against a perceived threat of severe bodily harm or loss of life. So more or less, if you feel that you're in danger and the danger is presented itself, i.e. he or she is armed and they have intent on hurting you to get what they want, then by all means. But that's even a double-edged blade too, ladies and gentlemen. Any actions taken beyond what is deemed reasonable and necessary will not be condoned by the law. In essence, Canadians have the right to use force to protect their homes and themselves, but only the extent that is reasonable and necessary. So meaning if this kid comes in with a baseball bat, or some thug or some thugette comes in, they have bats, and you have one of these. Now, this is a toy, YouTube. This is a toy. This is just a toy. You got one of these, and you blast 3 or 4 rounds in their direction. Wow. I don't think the circumstances will go very fair in your direction. However, if there's a posable threat, who knows? But then again, you don't really have a lot of time to react if there's that kind of threat, right? Now, there's a question here. Can I defend myself in Canada? Under S34, Section 34 of the Criminal Code, a person is permitted to take reasonable action to protect themselves or others without being guilty of an offense. The relevant code states a person is not guilty of an offense if they believe on reasonable grounds that the force is being used against them or another person, or that a threat of force is being made against them or another person. The act that constitutes the offense is committed for the purpose of defending or protecting themselves or the other person from that use of threat or force, and the act committed is reasonable in this circumstances. So, meaning they come in with a baseball bat, you're allowed to use the bat. If they swing at you and they miss, you swing at them, you hit them, then that's it. You just hit them once. That's it. Take them out. If you can't take them out and they flee, don't chase them and throw something at their back or hit them with a shovel or pick up a rock or whatever, or heaven forbid a firearm and blow them away in the back. Okay. That's just, what I understand of that too. How do you understand? Let me know in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. However, in order to rely on any defense, it first must be showcased that there is an air of reality to this defense. The air of reality test is to determine whether whether a properly instructed jury acting reasonably could acquit on the basis of evidence. Once it has been satisfied that there's an air of reality to the defense, in order to successfully raise a defense of self-defense, it must be proven on a balance of probabilities that you believed on reasonable grounds that a force or a threat of force was being used against them or another person. Like I mentioned, I felt in my mind, Your Honor, or Mr. Justice or Madam Justice, that I felt threatened. In my mind, I thought I was in real danger, or my loved ones were in real danger. Excuse me. You acted for the purposes of defending yourself or others from that use of force or threat of force, and your act purportedly committed in self-defense was reasonable in the circumstances. Okay. So that's the thing here. Now, what I'll do, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave this, I will leave this article into my description. You guys can read along. They got some great links in here. In such cases, R versus Parker 2013, and another one, R versus Humphrey in 2007. I believe that was Saskatchewan. I'm not sure. But needless to say, there was a lot of situations in our history in regards to self-defense in this country. So you decide, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not saying, nor do I encourage anyone to get their PAL or their RPAL. To my American listeners, that's restricted possession and acquisition license, and acquisition licenses for just regular bolt action rifles or regular hunting rifles. Make a long story short, I'm not encouraging anyone to blow anybody away. Okay. I'm not going to promote that, however, but I do believe in defending your friends, defending your loved ones, defending your property. Now, what I read to you too, based on from my experience, people I have worked with, people who have been questioned in regards to defense, you're still going to get your ass hauled to court, and you still got to defend yourself in the act of that. And that can cost you, as far as I know, anywhere from 20 grand to 25 grand to even 30 to even 40 grand in some cases to get a proper defense. Because if you don't have proper defense in this country, the courts will eat you right up. Now, we've seen examples of how the courts have done the catch and release to many offenders out there in the name of background, not in the name of the actual actions they've committed, but in the name of their social and physical and cultural background. That's Bill C-75 for you. And I think it also has something to do with C-21 too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, all these C's and B's and different bills. Needless to say, there's a bill in legislation right now that lets people go on a whim based on their background. And I don't buy that shit. But I'm not saying it's a racial thing. I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. I'm not saying it's totally a great thing either. Okay. Representation is keen, but in the same sense, if someone commits a crime in this country and they know it's wrong and they know it's bad, then you throw these people in the slammer. Doesn't matter what color or creed or gender, or how they identify. Okay. But that's another story, ladies and gentlemen. So make a long story short, you do have the right to defend yourself, but based on what I read to you and based on the other information that's in that article, you still will have to go to the court of law and defend yourself for your actions. And like I said, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So do we need reform in regards to self-defense laws? I would say yes. Because how many Canadians do you know personally who just happen to have 15, 20, 25, 30 grand lying around to defend themselves in the court of law if it ever was to happen? Not too many. Not too many, ladies and gentlemen. It's almost effing impossible when you think about it. Okay. But it's there. And like I said, there's links in the self-defense law article there where you can click on and read for yourself on certain jurisdictions. Excuse me. I know there was a couple in Okotoks here in Alberta a few years back. and the guy defended his property. Apparently he was shot at by somebody with a 22, and he returned fire with a 22. And he ended up hitting the guy and damaging his wrist or something like that. And make a long story short, after he went to court and he was acquitted, it still cost him a small fortune to defend himself. Now, apparently that individual, okay, now quote me if I'm wrong here. If there's any legal experts that are watching this show, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll own it. I'll pin a comment there on my page afterwards. But apparently that individual that got shot, that burglar to be, or that robber to be, he tried to turn around and sue that couple. So what happens when you deal with snowflakes, or deal with pussies, or deal with wimps that can't own their shit, right? So as far as I don't know if that individual's in jail or not, but he tried to sue that couple for defending their property. And, because he got a big boo-boo on his wrist. Now, I don't know about you, but a 22 can harm you. Yes, it can be lethal depending on where you're at and how close you are to it. But it's basically a glorified pellet gun if it goes the wrong way. It's a round. You can take small game out with it and take some coyotes, what have you. But if you shoot at somebody within, like, say, 50 or 100 meters, chances are you might clip them or wing them, But that individual that was guilty for robbing this guy tried to sue him. So it tells you where we're at in our system. And this was about maybe 4 years ago. I'm not sure. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if any legal experts or anyone's familiar with that case, please let me know in the comments. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, if I'm right, whatever. But I'll stand corrected if I'm wrong. But it just goes to show the courtesy and the audacity of some individuals, right? It's just shake my head, the SMHFH, shake my effing head. But it tells you where we're heading, right? So when it comes to self-defense, encourage it, but basically force with force. They got a stick, you make sure you got a stick. They take a swing at you once and they miss, then you swing back and make sure you hit them, right? I'm not saying annihilate them or, end things for them, but I am saying stand your ground, right? But even with that too, the chances are you might have to go to court. So when it comes to reforming our laws, I think we have to, and I think you should hold your MPs and make that a reality too. I'm not saying walk around with concealed carry or unconcealed carry, but I am saying common sense shall prevail. But that's just me, though. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 3rd of September, 2024. I wish nothing but good things for you all out there too. Happy Labor Day weekend to those involved. I got a lot of things done. I made sure that things got stained and painted. I might have to restain my deck in the back, but it rained this morning. And then it's supposed to rain again this afternoon. So I might have to haul off and postpone that for another couple of days. Try to get the deck stained before the snow flies. Oh my goodness. You're going to have that now. Anyhow, that'll keep me occupied the next couple of days. Plus, I'll be back to work again tomorrow, back to my 10 days on, then 4 days off later on. So I'll try to get podcasts up and running for you throughout the week. Like I said, I'm going to try to do 3 times a week. So I'm going to bust my ass to make that a reality, ladies and gentlemen. But then again, I'm thankful to all the people that have stuck around and my subscribers and my new subscribers. But according to my YouTube list, I've lost some subscribers. So maybe I had some bots there or something. I don't know. But if I offended anybody, well, my apologies. But then, this is what you see. What you see here is what you get. I'm not here to BS you. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I just tell you like it is from my own point of view, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we still have freedom of expression in this country, and let's fight for it while we still have it. Knock on wood, right? Anyhow, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 3rd of September, 2024. I wish good things for you all out there. It's still warm outside, so hydrate, be active, enjoy the good weather while we can, and be good to your friends and neighbors and your loved ones. Just do what you can to help you out in these trying times. Don't hesitate to ask for help, and don't hesitate to give help either, too, if you need it, ladies and gentlemen. And like I always say, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, folks, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Guns are bad. Spank me harder. Guns are bad. Spank me harder. No more guns. Spank me harder.